Metal Gods Meltdown, and today I am joined by
David Reece.
Iron Allies is a very apt name for this band. How excited are you about this killer group and album?
Sometimes the stars just all align correctly. I've known Herman for years, but not personally.
Okay.
We've passed one another on shows, and we've never actually physically met, believe it or not, over 35 years. And he reached out to me on Facebook one day and said, you know what, let's try to write some songs together and see what happens. And the outcome is the first two songs, I knew something was there.
Yeah, sometimes social media does have its positive sides, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's very true. I count on my hand the great experiences, and that's one of them.
Brilliant. Blood In, Blood Out gets released in a month's time. How impatient are you waiting for its release?
Crawling the walls, mate. I know the lineup, the guys involved, and the response so far has been so great. And I mean, most media that I've done over the last few years, when they caught on to this, wanted to only talk about Iron Allies, and I wasn't able because of my contract.
Yeah.
But now I'm free as a bird to, open up about it, I guess. And yeah, I'm stoked. I mean, it's a pretty happening situation. Finally.
Yeah, it's a classic metal album. I mean, I've been listening to it a lot. Obviously, I know what to expect from it, but what can fans expect from the debut when it does get released?
Well, I read a comment on the second YouTube video, and it was pretty alarming in a way, but very honest. It said, had Reece done this album with real drums and a better producer on Eat the Heat, this would have been a huge accept record. And I just kind of laughed to myself because I've always disliked the sound of that record, but I'm proud of it. Yeah. And I always thought songs like Ecstasy and D-Train were the direction we should have gone. Albeit, the American influence, let's commercialize the group. How do I describe it? I mean, it's part of that, it's all me. And of course, what better metal guitar player is there in the world, in my opinion, than Herman Frank? I mean, he's a riff master. The guy it's shocking that he's not a superstar because of his ability.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Absolutely, man.
Great riff writer. I mean, he's got a great. I mean, I tracked the first song, which was one of Friesen or something like that, or We Are Legend. And the producer that I worked with, just doing the demos for it, he's not really into that kind of guitar playing. He's a fabulous player himself. And he stopped and he looked at me and said, "Who's the guitar player on this?" And I said, "Herman Frank." He goes, "Man, that dude gets it. It's in the hand." Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So many bands from the 80s and that are still going strong, and veterans of the metal scene. What do you put this down to?
Rock and roll. There's so many spin-off bands from that era that I think it's transparent. People, they know it. The true metal fans, they can hear somebody trying to emulate that. Now, there are some fabulous young bands that deserve a lot of attention that are not getting it, that have created new sounds. But I think the reason it's survived, I guess, is because it was such a great era. The British invasion, number one. Being an American, when, I was getting those records when I was 19, 20 years old. I mean, we played covers of Maiden and Priest and all that stuff. It took over. Absolutely. And I think because it's so great, those bands, look at them live. Look at Maiden right now on tour. Look at Priest.
Yeah.
Look at Firepower. I mean, they realize, the traditional sound of Judas Priest is Firepower. And then when they came out with that record, even the artwork kind of was resembling, Screaming for Vengeance to me. It had that whole visual and everything, the sound. It just, they know it, and that's what the people expect.
Well, the album is purebred classic metal. I love it to bits, mate. So will it be releasing any more videos before release date in October?
Yeah, there's one more that we filmed this same weekend that we did Blood In, Blood Out. It would be Destroyers of the Night, which is a classic to me. And I'm pushing for a few more actually to come out, with, because, in this weird media world and, everything comes so fast. it seems that records have a lot of legs for about 6 weeks before and 6 weeks after, and then it slowly tapers off. So my plan is to really push the record company and the band to film 2 more tracks and keep the band out there in the face of everybody.
That's absolutely my favorite track. I wasn't going to ask you the usual, which is your favorite track, but that is my favorite track. I'm glad
Destroyers.
I'm glad.
You love Destroyers? Great, great.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Do you like Blood on the Land?
I love all of them. I love all of the tracks, but I think Destroyers of the Night is my favorite. Without
Thank
that,
you.
that's what I keep going back to. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's got the track riff, you know, you know,
Epic,
Destroyers of the Night. I mean, it's great. I like the middle 8 section, you know, da 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 da. It's got a real melodic vocal line, so I've always loved that song.
Well, I sort of grew up in the 80s and got into metal in 81 as the new wave of British heavy metal was like at its prime and that. And so, yeah, it drags me kicking and screaming back to them, but then it drags me forward to now. So it's brilliant. Yeah, it's totally brilliant.
Yeah.
And I love the album cover. How pleased are you about albums, vinyl records making a big comeback like they are?
I'm stoked, man. I've got an old Pioneer turntable.
Yeah.
In my man cave. I've got a Kenwood. I saw some new ones. They had like the laser needle, but there's nothing like that needle touching that vinyl and that crackle and the smell. Holding it, I mean, you know, there's a limited edition of Iron Allies in white vinyl, and I got a few copies of that the other day, and black. And you know, just opening it, and you know, it folds open, and it's just like, wow, it's like the old days, you know, because I can't see my hand in front of my face anymore. So a CD, I've got this out. I've got a magnifying. Yeah. I mean, I was looking at your link today for Zoom, and I had to like, you know, open it up and do this, and I'm like, really, Sherlock, are you that bad?
Bad, you know? But yeah, it's so good to have vinyl back, and absolutely.
Yeah.
What would you say though has been the most important album that you've ever appeared on, career breaking wise?
Over my career?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know, except ended badly, but I mean, without that album, I wouldn't be speaking to you.
Yeah.
That was my breakthrough. I'm very proud of it. You know, I was a young buck. I thought I knew it all and I could sing everything, but you know, during the production, Dieter Dirks, you know, literally stopped and said, "You can sing really well, but you don't know what your voice is, and that's my job to find that." So we started. And I took it kind of, you know, like my ego. What do you mean, you know? But as a producer, he said, we got to get your identity. And I started to develop it over the 9-month period of that writing and recording. I'm very proud of that. And then there's, you know, of course, Bangalore Choir right after that. On Target was a pretty powerful record, you know, at the time. And now, you know, I've done a lot of solo albums that I'm very proud of. You know, I decided, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago that the band thing was kind of getting redundant. You know, it's impossible to say that you're really a democracy. There's no such thing. There's partnerships, you know, Richard Jagger, Tyler Perry, and Frank Reece. I mean, so when he reached out to me, I knew that if we could tap into something, it would be great. And it is. I mean, I'm back to the point where I go, yeah, this is an accomplishment. And I'm not bragging. It's just, you know, when you do a record, you probably heard this a million times. You always hear artists say, I could have done that better. Because in this day and age, it's not like the 80s when we wrote the songs in the rooms and then went out and played it before we went into the studio. So when you went in the studio, you had a kind of a natural feel with the band of where it was going to go and how you were going to sing it. Now you're doing files and stuff like that. So, but with this record, you know, being together, Herman and I in Hanover, you know, it really it shines through like the old days, you know.
I mean, obviously, we're still sort of coming out of pandemic and loads of bands are hitting the road at the moment. There seems to be like overload with bands getting out on tour. So do you sort of plan to get out once the album's released, or are you going to leave it to the new year, do you think?
We have a great agency out of Berlin. They have Blind Guardian, Grave Digger, and a bunch of acts, and they're very productive.
Right.
The interest is very strong. We used Saxon Soundman with Victory and Herman stuff, and he actually did sound for me in Hamburg solo a few weeks ago at the Market Hall in Hamburg, that festival we did, and that guy is just amazing. I can't wait for the balls of this sound to be presented live.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, obviously the only way to solidify a real rock and roll band is touring.
Absolutely.
Now, you're inundated right now because they're playing catch up from cancellations.
Yeah, exactly.
And when I released Blacklist Utopia, I had, I think, 38 shows fall through the holes in about 7 days. I had big plans for that record, and then I just stopped reading emails after that first week or so. But yeah, they're right now that we've got a bunch on the table, and I think with the videos out there, the fan response, now the product is in their hands. Everybody's going, oh, this is verifiable, you know, which helps immensely.
That's brilliant. So I hopefully get.
We're all dogs.
I hopefully get across the water then into the UK.
Yeah, I mean, I love playing the UK. I've had great success there.
Yeah.
The festival I was at in Hamburg a few weeks ago, it was the old crowd from Firefest. I saw many old friends still driving hard saying, hey, get back to the UK. I'm like, say when.
Yeah, soon as, mate, soon as. Okay, so who in your eyes then is the ultimate metal god?
Well, there's a few. I mean, obviously I'm a Rob Halford ultra fan. Ian Gillan. I mean, we're all getting older. I mean, you hear it, but those guys were the guys that I glued my ear to. Alice Cooper, and of course the great Freddie Mercury. And then I have to say, overall, my favorite singer in rock and roll is Paul Rodgers.
Right. Okay.
I try to emulate that guy, and I'm telling you, it's just such a natural gift he has. I can sing like his range and everything, but there's just something about that guy that it's timeless. I mean, you know, it's like Lou Gramm from Foreigner. I mean, that's the most perfect rock radio voice that I ever hit. I thought.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, so if one of the tracks from the album could appear on a TV or film, which one would you choose?
Oh God. Well, for the Sabbathy kind of dirgy thing we did, Martyrs Burn might be a good war backtrack. I mean, that's, you know, it's about the Blitzkrieg over London. You know, I'm kind of a war buff, you know, a history buff, and the lyrics pretty much explain about, you know, pull up a chair and, you know, watch the party in the sky, as most of the English did. You know, oh, they're fighting again tonight. I mean, Selling Out might be a good one. It's fast, but you know, there's also the track Evil the Gun, which is basically a gun talking to the humans, going, you know, I'm a mechanism, I'm a machine. You know, there's so much going on in America, especially about gun violence, and the problem is so far beyond that, you know, a gun doesn't say, you know, hey, pick me up, I got to kill this guy or shoot these people. So it's, the lyric is basically the gun talking back to humanity. You know, it's the one behind the trigger. That might be a good one. Destroyers of the Night. I mean, I could see that in a horror movie, or, you know.
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely.
It's, you know, that's the thing about the album. I mean, I love all the songs. I mean, I listen to it pretty often, and every time I listen to it, I find one that I like better than the other. It's, you know, and that's a good problem for me, you know.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I've got to try and review it somehow without just like saying 10 out of 10. Yeah. Yeah, it's great, mate. We should check out Blood In, Blood Out.
The single or the record?
The whole album.
You've got Herman Frank and David Reece. You've got Francesco Giovino on drums. He's the monster. He lives like 30 minutes from here in Italy. And Malta on bass, who I've toured with endlessly. And then Michael Peason on rhythm. I mean, you've got 5 ingredients that created a great record. And if you're a metal enthusiast and that's what you want, that's what this album is. And I think we got that. I mean, it happened. And the response has been exactly that. Yeah, that would be it. I mean, I hope people embrace it and you know, feel as strongly as I do about it. And it's a real band. I mean, Herman and I know that the chemistry is right together. And I think he kind of saw that, you know, watching me online, and I knew that about him. And you know, it's ironic that we have more accept members in my band, and so does Udo, than actually accept us now. Everybody kind of laughs about it. It's like
True though.
yeah, it's true. I mean, when you got Maltus with Udo right now, you got me and Herman together. It's strange. This whole family is never-ending connection. You know.
Yeah, it's insane. Okay then. So can you give me 4 words to describe Iron Allies?
Balls, melody, crunching riffs, and lyrics that are not your cliche baby, whoa, whoa. I try to write lyrics that have a message without being too, you know, Dave. I try to look at it so everything is subjective, you know, like Evil the Gun. You could say, well, it doesn't mean that to me. It means this to me. And when people say that stuff to me, I go, that's cool. You know, truth never mattered. Cool. You get what I'm saying. You know, they say, well, I think of it this way. But that would be the 4 most, I don't know what the word is, how I would explain it, you know.
That's good. Okay, what would you like your legacy to be in years to come?
Well, that I lived a healthy life, that I did the best that I could in every aspect of what I do. I mean, I've sobered up 4 years now, September 4th. That was a real ball and chain in my life that I finally got over. Alcoholism.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was the worst.
I'm with you, mate.
The worst sneaky little bastard that followed me around for years that I thought I needed. And one day the voice said, "You don't need it." And I would like to be remembered that I performed as best I can, you know. And now I don't care. I mean, there's so many great singers, you know, there's respect. I'm not looking for that. I just, you know, maybe appreciation, you know, but I don't quit. I mean, it's in my DNA. I mean, I'm 62 years old, and I've done this a long time, and I still don't feel vocally that I'm finished, where some guys are, and they should kind of give it up. And you know, I just would like to be remembered that, you know, I gave everything that I had. I guess the same as Herman. I mean, look at what he's done. I mean, and the rest of the guys.
Yeah.
We're old dogs, you know, in this business, but we're young at heart, you know. And I think music actually does that for us. I mean, it's one of those things that, you know, get my mind off of all this other crazy shit that I have to do.
Yeah.
You know.
Couldn't agree more. Honestly, I'm with you, man.
Thank you.
Okay. I want to congratulate you on your sobriety, though. For me, it's been a year now, so yeah, it's hard.
Oh, really?
It's hard
Fabulous.
work. It is hard work. It really is.
You know, it's weird. I have dreams occasionally when things get really stressed out and they're going wonky. I'll have these dreams that I'm back in Montana on the ranch, and I've got a cold one in my hand, and I'm looking at the sunrise, and I'm like, what the hell is that? And then I realized that I dreamt about it because something's not going really well, and that's that little monster creeping into your head. Yeah. So if you can fight him off and just as a routine, just not today, it gets easier.
It does, man. Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been an honor to chat to you. Do you have any final words?
My deepest heartfelt thank you to all the people in the UK and around the world that have stood behind me. I'm actually doing fan stuff the last 3 days with some records that I did during the COVID lockdown. I actually, it kind of contradicts what I said. I was blessed to be asked. Everybody was bored and were calling me, "Will you sing on my record? Would you want to do a project?" So I got to eat and keep the lights on in the house. So the amount of messages that I'm getting right now and outpouring of love for the record, Iron Allies, it just makes it all worth it. And, you know, AFM, you know, I've always wanted to be on the label. You know, we've just kind of never connected, and then meeting with everybody there and hearing them say the same things about me and that they're proud of it. And You know, I think it's a good winning combination. So,
Yeah,
and I
fantastic.
think it's without the fans. I mean, I wouldn't be talking to you.
Yeah.
That's the fact.